What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Sweat Equity, episode 73. You got anything on the agenda today? I got a little bit for you.
I can yap. I could definitely yap.
You had me on your shoulders the last episode, so
Nah, it's all good.
I came prepared this time around.
We got all sorts of stuff going on. Y'all are in the comments letting us know. Yeah, we'll figure it out. But
What you mean?
Spotify. We got thumbnails that don't make any sense, bro. Like we'll clean it up for the fam. And if you're still here, please subscribe. It helps us. It helps us a lot.
The thumbnail made sense. It didn't make sense. That's what I was trying to say in Slack. I'm like, the thumbnail with the headline doesn't make sense.
I mean, totally. So it shouldn't be there.
It was your call to be there.
No. I've said three times.
I saw you put it.
But yeah, I mean, hey, we got full-time jobs, but we're bringing you this marketing content as best we can. Got back from a conference this week. So
yeah, how was that?
It was cool. Definitely funner to be a creator than an agency guy at a conference like that.
What do you mean by that? How are you?
I'm just going to publicly say it. We got to stop the discrimination against agency guys. It's out of pocket. There's a lot of brand owners that think agency people are just scamming / trying to sell them. And in reality, a lot of these agency guys are making great money figuring it out. Now, let me be clear.
Isn't a brand the same thing in many ways at some level?
In terms of?
Like, let's look at a brand like
just like
Avi.
Yeah.
Beep this out.
No. Avi. Screw those guys. They're cap.
Are they not scamming you with like, hey, nature's Ozempic?
Yeah. No, they are.
In the craziest AI ads in the world?
Totally. Yeah. Also, if you run AI ads, you're not going to make it.
You're a fraud.
I'm just going to give you
You're a fraud.
I'm just going to stop you right there. If you spent all of your day on Wednesday just making little ChatGPT fake ads, instead of working, you're not going to make it.
I saw something that was like, if you're a true marketing obsessive, you would have spent your entire day on ChatGPT making ads. I was like, no, I was actually being creative.
Yeah, I was grinding.
I was not making
I was actually
prompts.
adding value to the people that pay me, which I think most people in.
I'm adding shareholder value.
Trying to at least, but I mean, it was cool. I think it was just funny. Like a lot of these events, like I would submit the party full and I would submit it as Nibble and they would not accept me. And then I would submit it as my telehealth brand and they would accept me. So I was like, oh, so y'all really are reviewing these applications. Like I didn't realize, I kind of thought it was like, oh, they have overwhelming demand, whatever. So I was just housing their food. You know what I'm saying? Like, give me that free stuff. I just got your ass, similar to what you just described before the episode, getting someone else. But the conference was cool. I mean, I was pitching a lot of sponsors about our podcast and honestly, it was very, very well received. So sorry in advance, everybody, but we might have some ad reads coming for you pretty soon, but we're going to make them entertaining.
But I feel like the people got to appreciate that for a year, we haven't really had sponsors like that.
No, certainly not. We've been just going.
And it's not like the podcast is going to change by any means.
My goal is if we do an ad read, I want people to not even know it's an ad read.
I'm really trying to pull up the content that I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, I don't want people to think like, oh, this is an ad. And I mean, MFM does a great job of that with some of their HubSpot stuff. You're like about like 4 seconds into it and you're like, oh shit, this is an ad.
They got me.
Yeah.
I'm signing up for a CRM.
And so we'll be doing that. And I mean,
this is brought to you by HubSpot.
Yeah.
You didn't even know.
all these tools though will be tools that, people can actually get a ton of value out of. We'll make sure that there's like a crazy offer for our listeners to like actually trial that product.
A lot of the shit is software that we use.
Totally. I mean, every single one of these
brands and whatnot.
People we've talked about before. And that's really the thing is I'm like, yo, I got you like a couple 100,000 impressions. Like you're not going to sponsor the pod. Like, what do you think we would? So, yeah, I mean, it's funny though. They're all getting burned by their other media sponsorships. Like every software company is pulling back on media sponsorships because they've gotten burned by all these podcasts that fake their numbers, all these newsletters that buy subscribers on Facebook, and that's why they have 50,000 subs. Like, and there's that taste in the market has finally materialized where a lot of these marketing teams are saying, I don't really want to touch any of this vertical. And I'm like, go check our comments. So that's why we're saying when you leave the comments, like it means the world because it's real rather than, a podcast with 100,000 views, 6 comments, everybody on the podcast leaving it.
And I do want to mention this just to be fully transparent. It's much easier to produce a podcast that's just recorded via Zoom. Like it doesn't cost any money.
Totally.
Right. Like it costs to have what is it, like Riverside?
Oh yeah.
$20 a month maybe. This costs 5 to, oh, well, actually, when you put in the office rent, when you put in,
Which is really the only purpose of the office rent is the studio,
is a studio,
right?
like
y'all don't even really come in here anymore.
No, we do. But
Right.
after we got robbed, it's feels a little different in here.
Totally.
But the studio's nearly $7,000 a month. All the camera gear, like to pay Charles, like comes out.
Camera gear costs just double.
Yeah, yeah. To produce this podcast costs like more than $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like it would be nice to have those costs covered with a sponsor.
Yeah. But we're not pocket watching either, right? We'll continue to bring it regardless of the sponsors.
It's not like we're not tripping about it, but it's just like it would be cool for it to make money.
I'm just setting the table that if you see, if I start talking about some SMS products, just don't be upset. Okay.
Yeah. Or a landing page
go
developer.
take a demo in exchange for all the game that we've been getting.
yeah, please.
Yeah. Tell the people what's up.
So cool. So I got something that I think is pretty interesting, that I do think there's a shift around launches, at least on the social side. I don't know if you saw my sponsored piece of content a few days ago for Particle, but I was talking about Rhode. And Rhode, they do really interesting things with all of their launches. And I'm not even saying some of the things where they do like a giant bath bomb. I'm going to talk about those things. Just talking about the content that they make and they publish on their feed. They were releasing you're going to make a joke, a peptide lip tint.
No wonder you're paying attention.
Exactly. I was waiting.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming.
You got notifications on for that keyword across the whole internet.
Hit me with peptide. I'm watching. I'm kidding, but not really. They released a new peptide tint, right? Interesting enough, they published 30 pieces of content around the launch, which is crazy. I'm talking about like from teasing it all the way to like continuing to push it. And then they have a launch that they're in the midst of doing right now. And what I'm starting to pay attention is brands are starting to like kind of look at the aesthetic on their grid, but they're doing it through this lens of like 6 to 9 posts, right? Where you can tell a story in 6 to 9 posts around a specific product, and it all matches and it all feels like cohesive. And as you go through every piece, if you do go through every piece, it's telling like this larger story.
Yeah.
And so Rhode, for example, they did same thing. They did a campaign shoot, and then they had a series that they were doing with Hailey Bieber, and they did that for 6 posts. But then what was interesting was on the release of the actual peptide tint, they did a social show called like Lip Line Looks or Lip Looks or something like that, where they published like 9 episodes of it, and they had all of these different creators create their own variation of how they use the tint, and they published it on their page. When you look at how much engagement this content got, they got anywhere from 30 to 50 million impressions during this time frame. The interesting part of that was, if you go look at their ad library, they only have 30 pieces of creative running. And if you look at the pieces of creative actually running, it's all like very direct response, bottom of the funnel. And so I think there's a move here, even if you're a smaller brand, and this relays back to what I told you at the beginning that I was talking about. I just didn't bamboozle you. But my thought here is, if you do have a launch going on and you have a smaller budget, you can do something like this where you produce 30 pieces of content. And we'll talk about how you can do this at scale with like 2 to 3 shoots, which is what I'll touch on at the end of this next segment that I'm going to mention. But you can do this where you publish a shit ton of organic content, and you accumulate 20, 30, or well, maybe not for some brands, but you could accumulate 2 million impressions, and then only have retargeting ads hitting those individuals that engage with that content with bottom of the funnel kind of direct response ads. I am 99% sure that is the playbook that Rhode is running right now. Because if you look at, they've accumulated so much awareness and reach that they're just retargeting like, hey, you're already interested in this. You already consumed all this content. You've clicked through. You visited the website. And now we're just going to retarget you. And so looking at through a particle, like I saw, there was some of the
No, don't name them. Don't name the tool on the pod. They gotta pay for that.
Dude, they had like 4 or 5 peptides tints.
Yeah.
That did, I think it was like 1.4, 1.5 million in revenue over the course of a 30-day span, which is pretty insane when we're talking about just purely organic content.
Definitely.
But I think the thing to pay attention here is how they're looking at the aesthetic of the feed, telling like this larger story in a sequence of 6 posts, and then essentially scaling off the back end of that. So one of the brands that I really enjoyed that did a 10 out of 10 job at this is Range Rover. So you and I were both in the market for a new car. You got a Tesla Model X. I hope it doesn't get scratched or keyed by people. I've seen that happen.
Bring it on.
I know. I got my Sentry mode on too.
Yeah,
on
I'm
my
saying.
bitch.
I mean, we'll have tighter security on that thing than the office. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I was in the market for a new car too. And so like when I was looking for a new car, I was looking at Range Rovers and didn't go with a Range Rover because we had a Land Rover, which is way downgraded from a Range Rover, but it was the worst car.
So car
world.
shopping, little nugget of wisdom. I don't know if everyone has shopped for a Range Rover, but I think the problem with Range Rovers is actually a problem illustrative of like many things in life. I've told you this before, but so I was shopping for Range Rover, and the car range that I was like comfortable paying for was like probably, 80 to 100 grand. And that's because I use it for my business. And so, if I got the car that was going to be 6,000 pounds, I could do a significant write-off on my taxes. Right. And so, I was looking for a heavy car.
Does a chef fit into that?
Yes. She's in the car with me every day. And I was looking for a car, and when you go shop at Range Rover, you notice like they got the tiers. Right. So it's premium brand, but they still got the tiers. So they got the lowest tier, then they got the middle tier, and then they got that top tier, right?
Yep.
That primo. And what I could afford was the middle tier. That's their like 100 to whatever, upper range. That's like 140. I was never going to spend that. But dude, you cannot get in the top tier car and ever go down to the middle tier. That's the one mistake I made. I got in the nicest one, and I was like, oh, hell no. I can't afford what I actually want to buy from this store. Like I'm not qualified to buy this whip, and I'm damn sure not settling for like the weak version of this.
Because you'll always feel it when you drive it. You'll
100%.
always be like,
I feel like a fraud. You know, I'm capping in my Range Rover. Everyone's like, oh, nice whip. And I'm like, I know deep down.
This isn't what I wanted.
Like and so I'd feel like a fraud.
Because how expensive is the nicest one? It's like $250?
It's $250.
200?
Yeah, $250. It's Lambo status,
No way.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, dude, you get in that thing, there's an automated champagne cooler, right?
In the
back
rain?
seat. Yeah. For no reason. Like, who's popping bottles like that?
Rabba.
Yeah.
Rabba. If you're
Robbins
watching
is
this,
probably
Rabba.
one. I'm not going to expose him, but I know what the craziest part is when.
No, I'm just saying Rabba would have a Rabba would be that guy to have
totally
champagne in his range.
You could get him on that for sure. At the dealership, you're like extra 20 racks for the champagne cooler. He's like, "Bet, give it to me." Yeah,
send it.
But that was like it was such an eye-opening experience shopping for cars, because you see all these whips on the road, and you don't really think about, damn, that Porsche is like 180, or like that Range Rover is anywhere from 160 to 250. Which, by the way, is a completely irrational decision to buy. I don't endorse that at all. Like I think spending money on some things is good, but if you're buying a whip for like 250, you need 5 M's.
Yeah.
Minimum. Like
minimum.
Like do not overextend yourself on that.
Just to flex.
Yeah, man. And I was like, the nicest version, even the trim, the seats, like the seats in the middle tier, I was like, these are all right. Like, but the one in the top trim was unbelievable. I felt like it was like genuine leather. They just stripped it off the cow type shit.
But you made a big upgrade. I would say wait, I'm actually curious. What did you get for what is it, Tiguan?
Tiguan, yeah.
What did you get for that?
Bro, it's a lease. And I still haven't returned it.
You still have it?
I got that thing just chilling in my garage. I probably accidentally just grandfathered into a new lease agreement.
Oh my
for
gosh,
real.
bro! I thought you returned it or like sold it or something.
No, I was supposed to give it back like in mid-March, or I think it's April. I don't know. They haven't hit my line. I also have a situation where like I don't know where Tesla is billing me from, but I feel like I haven't paid for anything in a while. So I don't know.
You've had the car for less than 45 days.
Yeah, true.
You're not going to get billed until 45 days.
No, I think it's 60 days, bro. We're almost in April. I got it on like Jan 26. So I
Oh, really?
think I owe someone some money. And
That happened to me with my Tesla as well.
there's just no paper trail. Like, I don't know where to give this person the cash. I'm like, just put me on auto pay. But it's like Tesla is a situation where they're too tech enabled for me. Like, I don't know if that's because we're older, like younger millennials. We're not fully Zoomer. I don't know.
But did you go pick it up in that whole situation? Okay,
Mhm.
so to me, that is one of the coolest things. I bought
It was
my
sick.
Model Y in like, I don't know, it was a 4 or 5 minute thing.
Yeah,
Whatever, gets
totally.
approved.
No, you just check
go buy
out
it.
and go get it.
I
Yeah.
went to Houston. I just walked in. I was like, hey, I bought a Tesla Model Y. I'm here to pick it up. She was like, okay, it's gonna be the one with the trunk open or something like that, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
doors open, has your name on it. I just got in it, drove out. It was a 30-second thing.
Yeah, yeah,
It was ridiculous.
yeah.
Versus like I just got Vanessa the new Land Cruisers, like the 2025 Land Cruisers. Dude, it was 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And that was with sales tactics where I was like, I saw the price and I was like, hey, if you just drop it to this, I'll give you this much of a down payment and I want to walk out in an hour and a half is literally
Totally.
what I told the guy.
Yeah.
It still took 2.5 hours.
What's also crazy about that is when you realize that that entire process only exists because of laws. It's not because of like the free market.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how Tesla circumvented that, but like car dealerships only exist from like an archaic, like 1930s anti-monopoly law that didn't allow Ford to just sell it direct to you. And so now we got this dealership experience where you walk in and a bunch of hyenas just start trying to jerk you. And it's like, yo, get me out of here.
Yeah.
Right? It's the worst experience
So
ever.
like I my first 2 sentences to somebody was like, hey, this is what I want. Here's what I want to
Don't
pay.
jerk me.
Yeah. Don't jerk me.
All right, well, tell them about Range Rover before we lose every single viewer we have.
Yeah, sorry. If you're still here, we love you. You're a real one.
Yeah.
So the whole point of all of that was to talk about Range Rover. So Range Rover did exactly what I was just talking about, where they were telling these stories within a sequence of 6 posts. And if you look at it, one thing that they did really well was, and something that I'm going to create a piece of content around is like older brands, they need to take the non-Jaguar route and they actually need to be talking about their heritage. They need to be going back to their roots and tugging on like the nostalgic strings that a brand like a Jaguar or a brand like a Range Rover can, to talk and get people like Charles,
Totally.
like yourself, like me, to want to buy a Range Rover, right? This series of posts made me want to buy a Range Rover. It's why I considered it. And so what they did was they created a series of 6 posts where they went back in time and they showed the first Range Rover SV, I think it was, from the 1970s, right? And it was like this old nostalgic kind of ASMR shot, like very tight macro shots of like rolling the windows, the tires, like the gear shifts, like all of these different elements. And then from there, they did 2 carousels, again, focusing on the macro shots, focusing on the details, but it had that like nostalgic feel to it. And they did this for 6 posts where it literally was like vibe marketing, use of a trendy term right now. I was like,
Gross.
I know. But I more so mean like they were actually trying to play into like a specific vibe and aesthetic.
Yeah.
And they do this for a series of 6 posts, right? And the story was like kind of bringing you back to our roots, bringing you back to our heritage, getting you to fall in love with kind of our story and our history, right? And so people in the comments are like kind of curious. It opened up a curiosity gap where people were wondering, hey, are they launching a new car? What are they doing? Are they bringing this back? It was super interesting.
Yeah.
Then you look at right after that, they did another series of 6 posts. So it went from the 70s to now the Range Rover from the 1990s, and they did the same thing. They had another kind of ASMR like a video IG reel where it showed all like those macro details again. Is it the dash? Is it the sunglasses in the back seat? One cool thing is like they would turn like the window thing, and it would be like they were using a lot of text to almost like illustrate the sounds that the things would make. And then they did the same thing. Another series of 5 posts after that one, so 6 posts total, where it was purely focused on like the vibe and the nostalgia of the car, focusing on the macro details. Very similar. People were in the comments like, one, loving this marketing, loving this content, but like, what is this for, right? And so then they did this whole buildup of, they first started with the first one that was released in the 70s, then in the 90s, and then it ended with them launching a new Range Rover SV that is going live in, I don't know when it's going live, but followed the same sequence of one main post showing the same thing, like the same shot list, all of that, a carousel, another reel, then another carousel. But it was all done in the sequence of 6 posts, which was super interesting. What I think is great about this is the fact that if you do have a launch, you can tell stories in the sequence of 3 posts or 6 posts, depending on your content team. And then you can also always build on it. Let's say you're thinking about tease, hype, and push. You have, what is yours? Like tease, what is yours? Tease, document.
Tease, document, showcase.
Yeah, cool. Change up the wordplay. And
had nothing to do with
I
this.
know. It's just fun.
Just
let's
state the fucking
my brother
facts.
hit the word tease. I said copycat.
Yeah. Like
you can't use the word tease.
Bro disowns the English language. I forgot.
Okay, let's say you're doing tease, hype, launch, right? You're following that framework for your product launch. The way then I would look at it, looking at Rhode, looking at Range Rover, the thing I would do is I would look at, okay, for the first 3 posts, or the first sequence of 3 posts, I'm going to have a specific story that I am telling, and I'm going to do that for the tease cycle, right? For the next 3 posts, I'm going to do something for the hype cycle. Or if it's like a big launch, then I'm going to do it for 6 posts. And then you can continuously build off this sequence so you could keep the aesthetic in kind of like your Instagram feed as some form of a mood board. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that look at this or that watch this and say, well, like, how can I do this on a budget? How can, like, this is going to cost me a lot of money to do. The reality is, if you look at the Range Rover shoot,
But you're going to say the reality is you
shouldn't be doing this. I thought about making a joke on that. But the reality is, like, if you look at the Range Rover shoot, they made essentially 6 pieces of content off of 1 shoot. And that's something brands don't think about. Like, we're, when we had Rare Air, for example, one of our like main things that we would do is like we would have a shoot and we would figure out how to get 5 to 6 pieces of content out of a shoot. And so now, if you're looking at a production and the production costs you $5,000 and you only walk out with 1 piece of content, it just costs $5,000 to make that 1 piece of content. Yeah. But if you plan it right in pre-production and you get 10 pieces of content, all of a sudden the cost of every piece of content is $500.
Yeah.
And now, and that is where it gets to a really lucrative state. And so if you're having a shoot, you have to go into pre-production understanding all the social content that you're going to get from this. So if I'm Range Rover, I go into it as like, this is my hero video. These are going to be the secondary assets that I'm going to get. I'm essentially going to map out the feed before I ever go shoot it with every piece of content, every idea that builds off the hero video.
Fine.
If you do it like that, you can spend $3,000 on a shoot, $5,000, $20,000 on a shoot, and depending on how much it is or how many things are involved in the shoot, you can walk out with an ample amount of content that makes that shoot a great investment. That is one thing that I want people to get out of this is if you look at the Rhode launch sequence that they did with Hailey Bieber, they got a lot of content from that 1 shoot with Hailey Bieber, right? Carousels are hot right now. That is a format that is working very well. And so, like, let's say you do a shoot, you have to be thinking about all the different content formats that you could be getting out of something. You can get a carousel, you can get a ASMR reel, you can get a 1 shot, you can get a POV video, you can get a 10 shot. Like, you have to think about it through that lens of, okay, here's how I'm going to take 1 shoot and turn it into 20 assets that all build off of each other. If you can do that, you will be able to really leverage all of these campaign shoots and then also be able to tackle that goal of having an aesthetic grid. That's my rants over thoughts.
Mandatory.
Yeah.
Why are you wasting all your money on ads that don't work? Like, do something people actually want to see, and add value. And what does value mean? Value means interesting content, entertainment content, nostalgic content. Everyone flamed Jaguar because they nuked their entire identity for the purpose of being mass appeal, despite being a brand that's high status and luxury. And you have all of this history you could lean into that would absolutely still hit with your target audience, but they tried to audience expand. And so I think it also, the caveat to what you just said would be like, know your place, like Rhode has the benefit of being Hailey Bieber's
for sure
brand. And then, so obviously their top of funnel is like borderline taken care of in the sense of almost everyone in America that's a woman under 35 like probably knows who Hailey Bieber is, at least at a baseline level.
Yeah.
So when you have that level of celebrity, you can definitely focus more on bottom of funnel content and brand marketing. But how do you create brand marketing that can, like, you should still be aiming to recreate the situation that they have, right? Which is we can focus on brand, we can focus on connecting with people in a way that actually resonates with them rather than focusing on, just pushing sales and differentiating based on products, right? They don't have to have different features per se. Like that's like a nice to have, but that's why they do viral stunts like the case and all of that, because a lot of their products are, I would guess internally there, a lot of their products they know are going to sell. Like they have a lot of analytics that peptide, based lipstick or whatever is red hot right now. And so instead of having to use meta ads to like acquire those customers, they can just create brand marketing and then capture the bottom of the funnel.
And that's where I think
Doesn't necessarily apply to everybody though.
No, it doesn't. But what I'm saying is like, the reality is most brands, if you make very good content, can get 1 million impressions in 30 days.
Yes.
If you make good content, like, and that's how the algorithm works now, where everybody has a good chance of creating a great piece of content and it getting to the masses. People don't understand that. And what I'm saying is if you do invest in content and brand content for $5,000, instead of paying 10, 20,000 people to get 1 million impressions and to get in front of people that maybe watch 3 seconds of your video, you can invest $5,000 or $10,000 or whatever and get in front of potentially millions of people. If you do it right, if you listen to everything we've talked about on this pod, you can create a lot of good content. There's a lot of brands that we talked about on the last episode, or 2 episodes ago, that they're doing it off their iPhone budget content, and they're reaching 5 to 10 million people a month.
Yeah.
And doing so, on the back end of that, if you retarget that group of people, that is going to be really lucrative.
Totally.
And I don't know why brands or people complicate it so much, where you can just ship shit online or on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't perform, it doesn't perform. You have another chance the next second to publish a piece of content that performs, right? You don't have to overcomplicate it, but there is we have such an opportunity right now where any brand, a relatively new brand, can publish their first video and get 10 million views. And that's an interesting place to be, but you have to make very, very good content.
The one thing that I think if you're a smaller brand, you have as an advantage over these brands with tons of resources is knowing where to invest your capital. And that's something that, I'll scream to the mountaintops is like what you're investing in will directly impact, your marketing performance. Sounds stupid or sounds basic, but like, brands, if you're going to go all in on iPhone based content, well, you better be investing a lot of time and money into mastering hooks and mastering packaging that can reach a large amount of audience and mastering storytelling principles so that you complete the thought within the same video. And it does go pretty deep, and you have to educate yourself on those things. And so many people won't, and they'll just put out content and think it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, I can show you 20 million examples that it does work and changes your business forever. And this is kind of the argument with founder-based content, right? It's like, I'm not comfortable in front of the camera. It's like, this is an existential problem for you. I think you and I probably saw this AI slop montage on Wednesday of, for context, if you're watching this next Tuesday, OpenAI released the ability to copy any ad basically. And I don't think did that scare you at all? Literally not at all, right?
No, not
Everyone's like, marketing is dead. And
I literally was just like, I'm going to win even more.
It's never been a better time to be an original thinker and be someone that can connect dots rather than like all of these tools they're just tools, for the next probably like 2 to 3 years.
And to me, I actually funny enough, 2 days ago, I had a CBD gummy to like go to sleep. It's like this CBD sleep gummy. Man, I got lit up, like uncomfortably lit up. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of it, as I was like falling asleep, like ideas just started rolling. And I came up with like really good ideas for content. One of the things, and not that this is like the most genius idea, but I have it right here. That is like strategy and brand just got 10 times more important because of this AI shit,
100%.
which just made you and I 10 times more valuable.
Yes.
Which is the interesting part. I basically wrote a script off of it.
I was just geeked out because that was the first time high thoughts have ever made it onto the podcast. Like we've never had like, yo, saw Stone the other day and I was thinking.
But it was an unintentional, like I got stoned.
I know.
Like it was I freaked out for 10 minutes.
Bro, these CBDs will do that to you, bro. They're loading these things. It's crazy.
So I was like working on, it was like 9:30 at night, 10 at night. Take it because I'm like, usually I take a little bite, it hits me, and I'm, and I'll go to sleep because I have a hard time falling asleep. It takes me a long time to fall asleep. I'm working on something, and then I got like that hyper aware feeling. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Where like
you just go, damn.
I hate that. See, to me, that is the most uncomfortable thing.
No,
in the
come
world.
up is terrible.
And dude, it took 2.5 hours for me to like finally come down and fall asleep. But I just started, like, I made a good content versus bad content for that water brand.
Oh, Saratoga?
Yeah, Saratoga.
Nice.
And it actually has good ideas. Like this isn't going to get released until Tuesday. So it was good content versus bad content, Saratoga. So they've been kind of doing their spin on it, right? And their whole take has been, this is an extra. Have you seen that? Where like they're saying that like what that morning routine is an extra, the water with the ice and the banana is an extra. And I think that's the wrong take. They're luxury. They're supposed to be extra. And so my whole take was, and tell me if this is bad high thoughts, like that's actually a stupid idea. So instead I'm like, hey, for their good content, they should be building off of this idea. If we're looking at these sequence of 6 posts, that no, like we should be extra. We are extra. And so then the next thing would be a cold plunge, but you fill the entire cold plunge with Saratoga. Then the next thing would be like a martini glass jacuzzi. I don't know if you've ever seen those. Martini glass jacuzzi filled with Saratoga. Then a swimming pool filled with Saratoga. And like you keep elevating the things that people are going to do that have large bodies of water, but you're essentially adding the Saratoga water to do it.
One of those where like you said it out loud and I'm like, that could go well, but like the execution's got to be great. You know, like if the shot types are fantastic, totally could be hilarious. And also he dives into the pool and stuff. Like there's funny ways to incorporate it. Yeah,
I think they should just pay Ashton to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they don't have to do it on their. It's got to
be about 10,000.
Huh?
he's like we're gonna need 10,000.
Yeah, probably.
So funny.
That's how I think they could sponsor him because they shouldn't put it on their feed, or maybe they could do it in a way because their feed has a specific look. It's stupid. It's not.
They're not gaining followers, but they're going like crazy viral. It's really it's crazy.
Because everyone's paying attention to it,
right?
Like, and they're engaging with it as just like, hey, it's funny that you guys actually did this.
Yeah.
But I do think that they could build off the idea that you are extra because you are luxury, and so therefore, like your cold plunge water. No, you're not using the hose in the backyard. You're using Saratoga water.
Yeah.
Your pool. Yeah. Use Saratoga water for 500 gallons of water.
His hooks are so freaking funny. Like when he knocks over the mountain valley and it shatters.
Yeah.
And like he's so much more dialed than people give him credit.
I know somebody whose girlfriend worked for him.
Yeah.
Said it was very interesting.
I'm sure he's a psychopath, don't get me wrong. But like I respect the game, you know? There's little bits, there's little Easter eggs throughout every piece of content. And he knows that people are paying attention. And so he'll like knock over the water. And then on the next video, he'll knock it over. Someone catches it. And you're like, thank you.
Yeah. So it's dialed. It's funny how fast he's grown. Or it's crazy how fast he's grown.
Yeah.
He was at like 1 million followers maybe 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah. I mean,
if not like around there. And then he just took off to, I think like 9 million.
What is your opinion on the bros that like jumped on the like Saratoga's fumbling the bag? Like they're not like responding to this enough. Like everyone's so hungry to hit like a reaction take on everything within like 8 hours. I almost
did if I was Saratoga, this is how I would do it video. And then I was like,
I think those are pretty close to being cached.
Oh, they are.
Yeah. Like you want to talk law of shitty click through, like everybody hitting that now.
Yeah.
You know?
I think you just have to change the hook.
Yeah, the concept will still work, but you have to like
that's it.
The 1-2 step of like the text and then the load. Yeah.
But I thought about doing a variation of it, and then the more I thought of it, I was like, they should, like, the way they're reacting to it now is actually fitting.
I think they should have held strong. I
I
think
don't
they
know.
should have like never responded on some like we're literally just a bunch of boomer rich people and
I don't know.
we don't do this.
I think they could have responded. I think they should have just involved Ashton more
Yeah.
into the content.
Some of the one-liners have been good though. The copy's actually been
Yeah.
kind of solid.
Well, I think that's a wrap.
Yeah, for sure. If you're still here, please like, subscribe, leave a comment if you enjoyed the episode.
You need to go into the comments and hit people with a swipe file, bro.
I did. My assistant just responded to every single person.
Okay.
Sent the link. She said, forgive. She may not speak the best English. She said, "Hey, bro, here's the file."
To everybody?
Hey, bro, enjoy the file. Yeah. So if we hit you and you're a woman, I'm sorry. Said, "Hey, bro."
She can just look at a profile picture?
I think she was just spamming that thing. So we'll see.
Golly. At least we keep it real on this podcast.
Yeah. Look, I apologize. That's the truth. The Sweat Equity team. That's the new handle.
That's so funny.
Yeah. All right. We'll catch y'all next week.